Hi guys, welcome back. Today we will look at some of the pages from my book, Fashion Illustration Techniques in Watercolor. In particular, let's look at men's fashion. Men's fashion illustration is a little bit different than women's fashion illustration. For starters, men have different proportions and men have different features to their face and their body. These pages give you tips on the basics of men's fashion illustration, what to emphasize and what to reduce. So I will show you some examples coming right up. So let's do some men illustration exercises. So often we pay attention to women's illustration because it's so fun and colorful, but guys get left behind in fashion illustration for obvious reasons, because there's less that we can do with men illustration. But it's still something good to know and good to learn. Men have different proportions than women. Men have different facial features than women. And in fashion illustration, we show men differently. They have broader shoulders, narrower hips, less expressive poses, just because they're men and they have their own features. And in order to illustrate it properly, we need to exaggerate these features that are inherent to men. So for these illustrations, I'm using two men wearing suits. And this exercise can be found in my book, Fashion Illustration Techniques in Watercolor. So for this, I decided to go straight in with my pens. I'm using a thicker pen here and just loosely illustrate the man. His pose is very simple. He's just standing, holding his hands together. You can also illustrate a man with one of the hands in the pocket, or something, simple and masculine. This guy has one hand down and the other in his pocket. And this is a two-figure composition, but you can also just do one to practice. It's up to you. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing as you get started, because it could be daunting. But for this exercise, I decided to show two guys together, because I think it makes for a dynamic and expressive composition. You should practice going in directly with pens, because it will develop sort of bravery when you draw. Because pencil, it kind of makes us hesitant, because we can erase it. It kind of makes us change our mind. But when you go in with pens first, you kind of have to make a decision and make it fast. And it makes you more sure as an artist when you draw. Once you're done with your pens, you can go in with any colors. I'm using very bright, vibrant, cool colors for these guys' suits. Using as is the colors, and then I'm laying it out. Later, once this layer dries, you can add more shading to these figures. So as you can see, men have smaller eyes, broader chins. They have wider necks than our female fashion figures, broader shoulders, narrower hips, and the poses are more subdued. And this immediately tells us this is a men's fashion illustration. And it's fun to practice, even if you don't like drawing men. It's fun to sometimes practice stuff that you don't like doing, because that makes you a more versatile artist. And if you want to have more fun with fashion illustration for men, you can always add patterns. You can add stripes and flowers and whatever else you want. You want to give them some fun ties in different colors, because you could still have fun even if it's a men's fashion illustration. As long as the figure has the right proportions, as we discussed earlier, it can be made fun. So I encourage you to practice your own men's fashion illustration. You can use references online, or you could use references that I did in my book. You can use those drawings as your starting point to create your own fashion illustration for men. So I hope you have fun with this exercise and discover something new. And you could always outline with bolder lines once this layer dries, like I'm doing right here. Because fashion illustration is about being bold and being sure and being brave and expressive. And you can be expressive regardless of whether it's a women's fashion or a men's fashion illustration. What makes it unique and what makes it fashion is the brave and bold lines that you use and colors. And here I'm using Tombow markers. But you can use any markers, you can use any paints, you can use cheap paints or expensive paints, you can use cheap paint brushes or really fancy paint brushes. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you use them. Check out my watercolor tutorial books, available on Amazon and other online retailers.